I'm not seeing things right anymore.
What was your daddy like? Your mommy? That's somebody's daughter.
Seen a ghost? Have you seen him yet?
What'd you want to come out here for?
Yeah?
Her daddy was pretty much her whole heart, and so I didn't want to let her out of my sight.
See, stop.
Never really ours, Annie.
I've seen her too.
How do you stand it?
That's just how this is, Rose.
Fucking happening again.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I'm here with the extremely talented director-writer, Miss AJ Lambert. She has a fantastic film and short story. We'll get to the film first in our festival this year. It's called Junction, and just thank you so much for being here, AJ.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it a lot. I'm excited to be in the festival.
Yeah, no, your voice is just, I feel so compelling. I think there's so many layers in your work. I don't know, what is it about you? I believe, the essence of somebody is in their art, right? Just a glimpse into their psyche, into their soul, their heart. So how would you classify, would you describe what pours into your work from within?
I think the two different pieces that are going to be in the festival are two things that were sort of shaped off of experiences that happened in my life. The screenplay, the short script, is the more recent one. But the work that I do that's in film and writing is, it always comes from a place that starts with, there's one germ of an idea, and sometimes it'll start in a different format. Like the Junction was actually, there was a song, because I'm also a musician, and there was a song that I had written for the last record I put out, and I direct my own music videos, so I had this concept for the music video for the song, and it turned out that it was too much to fit into the time that I had to make the video when the record was due to come out. So I ended up making a lyric video about it instead. But the concept of the song kind of stuck with me for a long time, and then, these events that were happening in my life were happening later, many years after that record came out, a couple of years later. And I found myself drawn back to that concept as a way to sort of talk about the things that were happening in my life. Because I find that place that the Junction, takes place in, can speak to the idea that the original idea was about who kind of gets to be remembered and why do they get to be remembered, and and how fanatical people can get about things like that to the detriment of relationships that are real, in real life. And so it just kind of became this perfect frame for a thing that was actually happening with me. So it just kind of evolved from a song lyric into that screenplay quite quickly. And then, we shot it. By the time between writing it and it being finished was less than a year. So things moved really fast. And then the newer one, it's the same thing. a lot of times these things start out as something else. They begin as another form, like the song, or the newer script started out as it was always going to be a short, but it was originally a very different story, and I just ended up with a lot of time to sort of sit with that concept, and different things were coming up about it that translated into a science fiction story that it was never going to be that. And so they just sort of take on a life of their own once you put, you're committed to that idea, and then life happens. And that's, for me, the prism that it kind of ends up coming out through.
It was such a twist, because if I had to, like I was mentioning before we started the interview, I see you as like a David Lynchian type writer, director, because you have
Nice praise. Thank you.
Yeah, no, seriously, I mean, everybody who's going to see the Junction is just going to say the same thing. I'm sorry, but I firmly believe that.
I'll take
it. Because there's just these twists you don't expect, like you were saying with the celebrity, the deeper meaning behind it. I mean, you have like characters in your movie, like, referring to James Dean in ways that you would never think, and interacting with him still. And, and just like these fabulous special effects, too, in your film that you don't expect and come out of nowhere and really stay with you and are meaningful. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I love how you stylize all these messages into one complete picture, and it's breathtaking.
Thank you so much. I had the help of an amazing visual effects artist on that film, who also was the editor. And he's someone I've known for a long time, like since film school. And his name's Zach Passero, and he's just amazing. And the fortunate thing that happened on that movie was that, and this is happening now as I explain the new script to people. A lot of what I see in my head, it's difficult for me to try to explain in practical terms, like how to achieve it. Mm-hmm. I see it very clearly, like it's very, very obvious to me what it looks like. But the trick, as with any director or writer, is to get that idea out of your head and into someone else's hands, and it took, luckily, like we had known each other quite well, so the shorthand was quick. I had worked with him on something else before. I had worked with the rest of the crew on something else before, and it was easier to sort of, because they got what I was trying to do. And sometimes the communication from me to others is a little bit difficult. So I was very lucky to have people who got it and understood what I was trying to do. But I like trying to put things that could be told in one way, told in a really, really specific way, because I find that even if it's not, felt the same for someone else, it still seems to have some kind of universality to it, which is amazing to me, because I hear people talk about it and they have a very different take on some of these things. And I'm all for it, because I think it's amazing that they, because each person watching it, they've felt something similar, just maybe, a different thing that looked the same or felt the same. I don't know. And I find that to be the most rewarding thing of the whole endeavor.
Yeah, I loved about the movie is its abstractness, and like how, like, everybody perceives reality differently. So isn't it really just as abstract as an artist can make it?
Because right, exactly. Those people in that, I'm not someone who writes, internal monologues and things like that. That's not That's just not my style. So we're lucky that, we're making movies so we can show it in fun ways rather than, just straight exposition of things. I find that much more fun just as a filmmaker to be doing film stuff instead of, a lot of I don't tend to use a lot of dialogue in my scripts. I find it more fun to make it, a filmic thing instead of just the story coming out very straight.
No, and it's wonderful. It makes it a more adventurous ride for the viewer too. And it gets you thinking in like broader terms and how other people feel. So yeah, no, again, Junction is an amazing feat, and I find you too as a person really interesting. So then did you start making movies so you could direct your music videos? So was the music first for you? Is that how it happened?
So for me, it's kind of both things. I went to school for film for writing, actually, for screenwriting of all things. That's what my degree is actually in, is screenwriting, which that's. So at the time, when I graduated, I thought, well, I have this. This is wonderful, and I loved making my student films and stuff. But I had also been doing music while I was in college, and it sort of took over a little bit. And I ended up moving. I live in Los Angeles, where I'm from, and I ended up moving to New York with two of my friends from college. And we just did the thing, where you kind of find your path. We didn't have really a goal, any of us, to sort it out, but we knew we were going to be artists and doing art in some way. And I ended up, through twists of fate and circumstance, becoming a music supervisor for films and TV, because I got a job working. At first I was just an unpaid intern for this woman who I just wanted to learn how it worked. So I had two other jobs, and I was going to work for her for free. And, she ended up hiring me as her assistant. And then I ended up doing that job for many years. I worked for her. Her name's Tracy McKnight. She was a really great music supervisor. She's now the head of film and TV for BMI. And we're still really good friends. And I worked for Lee Daniels on 2 films, and that was a whole different career that I had. And to me, no one ever asked to see my diploma or anything. So I was like, all right, this is what I'm doing. But I felt uneasy about the fact that I had done all this work in a film school and I wasn't doing anything with writing. I wasn't doing anything with film and stuff except this job. And to me, the way I kind of justified that was, well, I know about story and I'm a musician. So it was a good skill to have, to be able to know both of those things, to be able to bridge it for a director who didn't understand music, or ins and outs of music, or a composer who didn't understand ins and outs of film. So I liked being that kind of liaison between those two, and that's how I kind of justified my lack of using it for screenwriting. And then I moved back here. I had my child. I moved back here, and I was teaching music to little kids for a while, and I started doing my own music during that time. And I just saw the ideas of the videos in my head, and I thought, well, I can make these cheaply for the most part. And then, yeah, that kind of happened first. But at the same time, I was still making music, which is what led me to write The Junction, was, that song. So it was both. They're both happening simultaneously, I guess.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, because it's so true. Everybody says, music is 50% of a film. So yeah, I could see where the musician in you can point a director into, there's so much there. I want to know which films you worked on then, and in that, I think people would be interested in that. I'd love to know like how you started out in music, like which instrument. I just think you're a fascinating creator.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mostly I played in other people's bands for a while. I was a bassist, and I played in lots of bands in New York, and singing a little bit. But then when I started doing my own music, it was a lot more about singing and not playing as much. And then I when I was working for Lee, for example, I worked on his directorial debut called Shadowboxer, which is an amazing adventure of a movie, and the score is beautiful. This beautiful, beautiful score by a composer called Mario Grigorov, and he's fantastic. And he also worked on another film I did with Lee called Tennessee, which was a movie that starred Mariah Carey, very, very out of her comfort zone of, what you're used to seeing her as. And that was a really fun experience, working with her, and Mickey Raphael was involved in that movie. It was amazing. That was an incredible experience. And I have Lee and a producer called Lisa Cortez to thank for a lot of where things sort of took me, that experience with them, for sure.
Wow. So, because I rarely get to talk to anybody that says they've been a music supervisor. So I find this really interesting, and I think, viewers will too. So what does it entail exactly? Is it telling a director, I think, this composer should work on this score, and it could be done in this way to set this tone, and then
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely the bulk of it is creating a score. It depends on the project, right? If someone wants it to be very source music heavy, which means the needle drops where you hear a song in the background and it's used as score, but it's a song that you license to put in the movie. And those have story moments too, of course. Like everything. When I was doing it, I was very keen to try to make sure everything fit, was correct for the story. And I think with the composer, the actual writing of the score, there is a big discussion among the director and the composer, and me as sort of the liaison between them, about what is it communicating? What is that score communicating? It does definitely get into, instrumentation and the desire to have, more dynamics and more there. It's very much they work together as a language to tell the story, for sure. But I also loved, the really fun part also can be picking songs that that you can put in stuff. That's amazing. And finding the right one for that is a trick that I find a lot of people don't quite get. A lot of it is way too on the nose, in my opinion. When people have lyrics that telegraph exactly what is happening in the story, that's not my thing. Again, it's similar to how I make films. I don't like it to be just sort of hitting you over the head and right on the nose, and because people aren't stupid and they need to be able to take their own time with a film to feel it. I think. I don't think they should be told this is what's happening. You want to feel like you're in good hands watching a film, but I don't want to be told what I'm supposed to be feeling and thinking. That's me.
Right. Widen the horizon instead of pitching hold into, exactly. This is what this is. Let me leave no room for interpretation.
Yeah, because it's more fun. I mean, we don't expect everybody to take the same thing away from, a piece of music or a painting or anything. So what? Obviously, you want to tell a good story, but if someone's getting it in a way that makes sense to them, I'm all for it. It's fine with me if it's not exactly what I wrote,
Right.
fine.
It's so interesting. So, what's your music like? Who would you say, quote unquote, your audience is? What are some of the experiences that have really like made you go on stage like wow, or yeah, because and then we'll get more into talking about film, but
I really was a terrified performer for a long time, and it just took a lot of practice for me to feel like comfortable on a stage. And it's funny because as I'm getting more into film, I'm actually backing off quite a bit from live performance because I'm realizing how much more comfortable I am sort of orchestrating things rather than being and I don't know. I like it. I like being on stage. It's fun, but I prefer this much more. It feels more correct to me. And it's where I started out. I started as trying to be a writer, so it's nice that at 51, I'm finally getting a chance to like come back around and try it again. But yeah, my music is very, I do a lot of covers, and I like to, again, about interpretation, I love to reimagine songs in a different way, just the way I hear it compared to maybe how it was written. It's just more of the same of let's try this a different way and see if, we strike another feeling that could mean something else. I find that interesting. And the original music I write is it's very stream of consciousness, let's say that. Because I'm not a natural musician, I'm not a natural instrumentalist. I don't have any real formal training with any of that. So it's a lot about a feel, and just seeing what comes out and going with it.
I love what you said there, stream of consciousness, right? And I again to bring up the David Lynch type style in your film. So it feels like you have that like kind of on lock, like how to do that well, craft it well, that although it's stream of consciousness, people can go out and pick things from it and have a reaction to it. How long did it take to make Junction? Like, so, like, you had the idea, but like production wise.
Sure. So the Junction started, I mean, I think we shot in 7 days.
Wow.
With like an 8th day to pick stuff up. I know it was a little nuts. It was a lot, but we pulled it off, and every day was made, and it was amazing. Again, thanks to the crew that I had, incredible group of people, and all my production. All of us as producers were women, and my first AD was a woman. It was nice to have that as I'm bringing that up because of the festival.
Yeah.
That was fun. That's not something that is automatic in the music world that I was in. We were always kind of outliers in some way or another. Like you don't feel it all the time, but sometimes it does feel like it's a man's world in a lot of ways, and film too. But I feel more like I'm the captain of a ship on a film crew because I feel very comfortable working with a lot of men on a film set, as opposed to sometimes. I think it's because there's more control from the director. It's like we're all collaborating to create this vision that is on the page,
Right.
I think sometimes when it's music, it can get very ego driven and a lot of trying to best each other, which is not as fun.
Yeah.
So it's definitely probably a control thing on my part. I like film set a little bit better than a studio. But yeah, it took us about 7 days, and then it was finished by the middle of August. So it was the whole thing, production to post being finished It was about 6 months at the most, 5.5 months. Yeah, we worked fast. We really did.
Yeah. And now are you going to go into production soon for the short script that you had sent as well, or?
Yeah, that's the plan. Trying to nail down money to make sure it could happen. But that's why, part of the search for like submitting it to festivals is, some of them have prizes that could help with, completion funds, and it's a lot of fun. But it's also just fun to get it in front of people because I think it's a really fun story. And it's been that's a whole different universe to me of, a film being in the festivals and the script being in festivals. It's different. And I wasn't expecting it to be so well received just as a screenplay. It's very, very, very humbling and nice.
Yeah, because again, like you don't know where it's going, and then it's really engulfing. You're really like in it immediately.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's working out.
Are you thinking of doing more feature length in the future as well? If you have anything started?
Yeah, I have the goal for the Junction is that become a pilot for a series.
Oh.
That at this point it's a very kind of abstract idea, but it is solely the only thing connecting episodes would be a junction, a physical junction in different parts of the world, which would open it up to different filmmakers, different writers, different actors. Like it would be really fun to make that. I just have to find the people who want to make it. And then, yeah, I do have a feature that I've been working on for many months. And that is the same situation, trying to figure out who wants to take a chance on it, as it is for all of us, right?
Yeah. No, I that's a very original idea you have with Junction there. I think that's very exciting. Yeah.
Let's hope you're not alone.
Yeah.
Hope you're not alone.
No, I think that's wonderful. Very unique idea, very unique film. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see the next installment.
Ew.
I wonder, just one more question, because you brought up, you have a child now. How do you balance, mom life and career? You have any advice to give to people on that? Or is that something that is advisable? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I'm fortunate enough that, I was wise with money for my whole life. I saved like a fiend, and like I was very, very frugal and lived very, 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 very skimpily for many years. And so I'm in a position now where I can, take time where I don't work and I just focus on this, or I just focus on my child. But people who aren't able to do that, I don't know the answer. People do it. But it's funny. I have a situation tonight where I have my daughter's school play is happening in a couple hours. And, I wasn't told that there was a dinner afterwards that all these parents have organized. And I said, well, I didn't know. And I shoved, work into that time so that I can be on this production, meeting for something else in the morning. Anyway, it is hard to balance it, because at least for me, the priority is always, she's always going to win. My kid is always going to win. I think that's true with most people. But I had tonight I had to make a decision. Like, am I going to stay and work, which is what I need to do? Or am I going to go to the thing with my kid and her dad, and she wins? And so sometimes you get little, setbacks where you think you've got some momentum on a project, and they just have to take longer. That's just how it is. Or, a lot of times when I was playing, when it was shows and stuff, or touring or trying to tour, it was like, when's spring break? When's summer break? And those are the only times that I do anything, including shooting.
Wow.
So, Yeah, the Junction was shot during a spring break, and that was all the time I had. And I said, we got to do it in 7 days, and that's all I have. She was able to be with her dad for that week, and that's when we do the art, is when we can,
Okay. Yeah, I guess moral of the story, we're all just doing the best we can, right?
Indeed. And at least it's always for me, a very clear choice. Like if the art takes a little bit longer, it's okay. It's fine.
Right. Right.
She's only going to be a kid for another 4 years, pretty much. Gotta take all those little sweetnesses while I can.
Right, right. And it sounds like if she's in plays, she's in acting, maybe she'll be in your movies too.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? We'll see. We will see.